Hey everybody, welcome to this week's video from Delhi Sustainable Farms. This week we are featuring building our temporary electric fence, which is how we move our cows in every few days. We have high tensile electric fence kind of scattered throughout the farm in strategic locations. Depending on which farm we're at, we had different strategies. Here on the homestead, obviously this fence was built first, so we weren't as experienced with building electric fence when most of these wires did go up. So we do have some cross-sectioning going on through our homestead, but over at our other farm we only have perimeter fencing, and everything else we do then is temporary wire. Then we can kind of go wherever we need to on the farm and not have to worry about fencing being in the way. But here on the homestead we do have cross fences going through our fields, which kind of makes them more in rectangle pieces, which does make it easier for us to keep consistency on how much grass our calves do get on a regular basis. So we're down here in the bottom. I'm going to show you how we, a quick demonstration of how we build the temporary fence. Then we'll show you some videos of the calves and cows actually moving through the fences and once they're built. So the first thing you always have to do is to make sure your electric fence is off, because you don't want to be shocked. Which actually someone has left the fence off today, so that's a good find. Good thing we were making this video today. So the fence is off. We use, our fence chargers are always at a central location on the farm. Here at the homestead, they're up at the house. On the other farm, they're in our pump houses, which kind of are where our wells are. And we have specific fence chargers that have remote controls to them, so no matter where we are at on our farm, we can always turn the fence off if we need to. We do have a few mechanical switches kind of at strategic locations as well, but usually we only need to use the remote controls. So that's a pretty cool feature. Then we have a whole bunch of these wire reels with handles on the end of it that can hook on to pretty much anything. They're plastic, so obviously if you hook onto it, then electric does not flow through it. Then we have these reels. I don't know how much wire's on these things, but probably close to a third of a mile of wires probably on each one of these reels. When we started, we used to have just regular reels, but now we've upgraded to geared reels. That way it takes us a lot less time to roll up the wire compared to the regular. So every revolution of your handle, it turns 3 times, so then when we're reeling up a third of a mile of this wire, it doesn't take us near as long. Anyway, so to start, you hook your wire or your handle onto a wire or a fence post or anything else, and then at this point usually we would get on the four-wheeler and then take off to wherever we're going to. But for this demonstration we're just going to do a short little stint, so I'm actually just going to hook the reel up to the four-wheeler. There's a little switch on the side with the handle that allows you to put tension on the wire so you can keep it nice and tight, but we don't need it too tight for today's purposes. Then there's always a hook on the reel as well, that way you can just hook it to whatever. Depending on which reels you actually have, some of them are insulated, some of them are not, so we just kind of have to keep track of our reels to make sure we're not electrocuting ourselves or shorting out the entire fencing system whenever we do turn it back on. We do also have a few different types of step-in posts. The general feature is all the posts always have a metal piece at the bottom that's pointed with a little place to put your foot on it, so you can just put it wherever you want to and just step the post right into the ground. Depending on what we're doing and who we're building the fence for, kind of depends on what posts we put in. For our cows, we like these plastic ones. They're a little bit cheaper. They're not as durable. They break off pretty easy. Couldn't tell you how many hundreds of posts I've broken off. But then there's only one single metal piece at the end, so there's less surface area for the thing to go in. We also have these metal pigtail posts, and they're entirely metal except for the top, where they are then coated in a plastic material. We usually use these types of posts for our younger calves because they sometimes forget what they're doing and they will try to run into your wire and tear it out. So if they were to hit the wire with one of these plastic posts, they would simply just break it off, and then you just keep losing posts every time you move them. So with these metal posts, they're it's almost impossible to break. You can bend them, and then we can bend them back, but then they never just break off. So they're a little bit more sturdy, a little bit more reliable. They are more expensive though because they are solid metal, and they also have 2 feet at the end, so when it's really dry conditions, they're almost impossible to get that 2nd foot into the ground. So then as well, you just put them in, and then the wire just kind of loops through that. So then they're pretty quick and easy if it's not too extremely dry. So then once we have our wire up, you always have to put a post near the reel in order to keep the wire up at a certain level. Again, these posts have a lot of different places you can put a wire, and again, depending on who you are building fence for is kind of where you put the wire at. So then you just kind of walk, you put them every so often. We don't have really a general rule on how often or how close we put these posts together. It's just kind of experience at this point and just making sure the wire stays off the ground. So if we're building temporary fencing to get the calves up into like a corral, we have to put them a lot closer because then it makes sure that they are seeing that the fence is there the whole time. And then so once you get all the posts in the ground, that's pretty much the end of it. In order to get electric to the fence, we have these alligator clips, and so it's just 2 clips. The wire goes in, and then it is able to send electricity all the way to the other side. So you just clip it on the permanent fence, clip it on your temporary fence, and then it's heated up as well. And we always keep the alligator clips near the reel. That way it's always in one central location. That way we kind of standardized how we build our fence, and if someone forgets to turn the fence off and they unhook a clip, they don't accidentally grab the wire and then it's hooked at the other end and then get shocked anyway. So then you just hook onto the fence, the regular fence, and hook onto the temporary fence, and that's how you build the fence. So we can build a lot of fence at a real quick amount of time with our 4-wheeler. And as you can kind of see in the background, it also has a box on the back, and it's pretty much strategically a working 4-wheeler. We don't really do anything recreational with it, simply because it has a lot of tools and equipment in it. So then you just pull the posts out, and you reel the fence up. Usually when we're rolling the fence up, we'll unhook it at the other end, and we'll just stand in one location and just keep reeling it. But since I don't have hardly any of it out, then you simply just reel it up. And so then you don't have fence in place again, and your farm then is not cluttered with permanent fencing all over the place. And it gives you a lot more freedom to move things around as you see fit. With permanent fencing, once they're in place, they're in place. As you can see, we have rose bushes all up and down this permanent fence. And that's just a battle that we will have the rest of our lives with any type of permanent fencing, keeping the brush out of the way. But with the temporary fence, you don't have those problems. So that is how we build our temporary fence here on the farm. Depending on what we're doing, we can have cows moved easily within 15 minutes or so, unless it's a really big piece or a piece that doesn't have perimeter fencing at all. It takes a while to get the cows to finally respect temporary fencing, but once they get shocked a few times, they know to stay away from it. When we first started using the electric fence, it was chaos for the first several months until the cows finally then realized that they had to respect this or they were going to get shocked. So that's the information on building electric fence. So we'll now show you a few videos of the cows moving actually after we have fence built. So stay tuned. So that's how we build, fence, and move our cows on a regular basis here on the farm. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it educational. If you have any other ideas on things you'd like to see, be sure to comment those below. Also be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and social media pages. That way you can stay up to date on everything we have going. I hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you again soon.